Hi, my name is Everett. Today I am reading Who is Colin Kaepernick? Who is Colin Kaepernick? As the United States national anthem began playing on August 14, 2016, professional football player Colin Kaepernick remained seated on the bench while his teammates stood and placed their hands over their hearts. Although it is tradition, it's not a requirement to play the national anthem before sporting events. Playing it has long been considered a way for United States citizens to show their respect and love for the country. However, Colin Kaepernick didn't feel much love or respect for his country. In that moment, a month earlier, two black men, Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, had been unfairly targeted and killed by police officers in Minnesota and Louisiana, and no officers were ever found guilty of committing a crime. Colin refused to stand for the pregame playing of the national anthem again on August 20th for the same reason. However, no one noticed Colin sitting out because he wasn't wearing his football uniform. He had been injured and wasn't going to play in the first two preseason games. Things changed on August 26, 2016. Colin was due to play for the first time that season against the Green Bay Packers and had suited up in his game jersey. While the anthem played, Colin sat on the bench. A reporter named Jennifer Lee Chan tweeted out a photo of the football field during the anthem. Twitter users noticed Colin Kaepernick sitting on the bench during the game. Social media users all over the country wondered why Colin remained seated. After the game, Colin told the reporters that he remained seated to protest the injustices that are happening in America. 2 days later, Colin gave more details during another interview with the press, where he explained that his protest was about giving a voice to people who weren't being heard. He said people were dying because the United States wasn't keeping their promise to provide freedom, justice, and liberty to all. Citing the experiences of black people, he told the media and the world that until he saw change, he would not stand up for the national anthem. Some people became angry with Colin's decision to sit out during the national anthem. They felt that Colin was disrespecting the American flag, the country, and the soldiers who fought for the country and the American people. Colin said that wasn't true. He said that he respected the American soldiers. Colin ended his speech by saying, "We wouldn't stop protesting until police brutality ends. I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses people, black people, and people of color." On August 30th, Nate Boyer, a former soldier from the Green Beret Unit of the United States Army, wrote Colin Kaepernick an open letter, a letter that is not private but available for public to read as well. In each letter, he told Colin that although he was initially upset when the San Francisco 49ers quarterback sat during the anthem, he is now trying to listen and understand. In a later meeting with Colin, Nate offered a better way to protest without disrespecting the soldiers. He said that soldiers take a knee in front of the fallen brother's grave to show respect. Colin agreed to compromise and protest this way. In the final preseason game on September 1st, 2016, Colin suited up in his uniform to play against the San Diego Chargers. Colin Kaepernick, along with his teammate defensive back Eric Reed, took a knee while the national anthem played. Chapter 1. A Kid Named Cap. Colin Kaepernick was born on November 3rd, 1987, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Colin's birth father had left shortly after his birth mother became pregnant with Colin. Colin's birth mother, 19-year-old Haiti, didn't know how she would be able to take care of a new baby. So Haiti placed Colin up for adoption when he was 5 weeks old. A few towns over in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, a couple people were looking to adopt a baby. Rick and Teresa Kaepernick already had a son and a daughter, but their last two sons had died shortly after birth. After grieving, Rick and Teresa decided to adopt the next baby. When they met Colin, the couple fell in love and brought him home to live with them. Teresa called Colin her perfect child, but everything wasn't perfect. Rick, Teresa, and their birth children were all white. Colin was biracial. His birth mother was white and his birth father was black. Having a different skin color than other family members can be difficult for kids who are a different race than their adoptive family. But Colin's parents discussed his adoption with him early on. They frequently reminded their young son that his darker skin color reflected both his African American and white heritage, all the parts of his background that made him Colin. Rick and Teresa never created Colin like he was white. They acknowledged his mixed race background and made sure they listened to his requests for things that honored his black heritage. When Colin was 4 years old, the Kaepernick family moved to Turlock, California in Fond du Lac. Almost everyone had been white, although more races were represented in Turlock. Most of the people were still white. This was in this new town that Colin and his family began experiencing racism or mistreatment based on a person's race or ethnic group from their neighbors and strangers. When playmates saw Colin's brown skin compared to his parents' white skin, they would ask, "Who's your real mother?" Children and adults sometimes stared at Colin as Colin walked alongside his family. After Colin showed an interest in natural talent in sports, Teresa and Rick Kaepernick signed him up for football when he was 8 years old. Colin played as a defensive end and puncher. At 9, his skill earned him the quarterback position on his youth A-League team. During football's off-season, Colin also played Little League baseball. He played baseball just as well as he played football. So, while the white parents often grumbled from the stands, making racism comments about the black kid striking out their son. When Colin's mother heard their racist remarks, she made sure to call them out on their hate speech. Although Colin was a great baseball player, football was his first love. When he was in 4th grade at Dutcher Elementary School, he even wrote a letter predicting he would someday play for one of his dream teams, the San Francisco 49ers. And this is what the letter said. Dear San Francisco 49ers, Colin Kaepernick. I'm 5 feet 2 inches, 91 pounds, good athlete. I think in 7 years I will be between 6 feet to 6 feet 4 inches, 140 pounds. I hope I go to a good college in football, then go to the pros and play on the Niners or the Packers, even if they weren't good in 7 years. My friends are Jason, Kyler, Zio, Spencer, Mark, and Jacob. Sincerely, Colin. Chapter 2, The Stand for the 49ers. At John H. Pittman High School, Colin continued playing multiple sports. By his senior year, he was nominated for All-State in football, basketball, and baseball. And even though Colin was mostly known for his baseball skills, winning many awards in his school's all-star pitcher, he continued hoping that someday he'd be able to play professional football. But by his senior year of high school, Colin was already 6 feet 4 inches tall, but only weighed 170 pounds. This worried his high school football coaches. They thought he was much too thin for such an aggressive sport. They kept him from running the ball to limit his chances of injury. But they also meant college recruiters didn't get many chances to see him play. Pittman High's head football coach, Larry Negro, had made a highlight tape of Colin's best moves on the football field during his junior year. Colin's brother Kyle made copies of this tape and sent it out to 100 Division I or highest level college football programs. Some of the schools showed interest in Colin, but none of the schools offered him a football scholarship. The baseball scholarship, however, were rolling in. Several colleges offered Colin a full ride to play baseball for them, but Colin desperately wanted his shot to play football. Then the unbelievable happened. An assistant football coach in the University of Nevada, Reno, saw Colin dominate a high school basketball game. Reno saw Colin dominate a high school basketball game on a night where he was running a 102 degrees fever. Impressed with Colin's speed, the assistant coach convinced Nevada's head football coach to offer Colin scholarship money. Colin accepted his only football scholarship and headed to the University of Nevada, Reno in 2006. Although recruited to play safety, the coaches decided to redshirt Colin. This means that he had him sit out for the first season to work on his skills and prepare for the upcoming season. However, during the 5th game of his next season, his coach called Colin in to replace the injured quarterback. Colin played so well, he continued to play for the rest of the season. Colin led the Nevada Wolfpack to victory, often as the college's star quarterback. By Colin's senior year, everyone around him predicted he would surely play in the National Football League, NFL. On April 29, 2011, in the second round of the NFL draft, the San Francisco 49ers picked Colin Kaepernick to play for their team. Colin served as backup quarterback during his rookie season for the 49ers, but during the next season in 2012, the team's longtime quarterback, Alex Smith, suffered a head injury and Colin took over. On November 19, 2012, Colin Kaepernick started the game as the team's quarterback for the first time. His 4th grade dream had finally come true. Colin used his speed and arm strength to lead his team to victory against the Chicago Bears. The 49ers head coach, Jim Harbaugh, was impressed. After the 49ers won several games with Colin leading the way, Jim had to make a tough decision. Would he put Alex Smith back in the game, or should he continue letting his talented new quarterback start? In the end, Jim decided that Colin's speed and arm strength made him the best man for the starting position and made Colin the permanent starting quarterback for the rest of the season. With Colin leading the team, the 49ers scored big in the playoffs and made it all the way to the Super Bowl, where they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. Colin was disappointed, but even though Colin lost the Super Bowl, he had won something else: respect in the eyes of his teammates, his coaches, and football fans all over the country. Colin Kaepernick was a rising star. After making it to the Super Bowl in the 2012 to 2013 season, Colin returned to the field the next season, determined to win a Super Bowl ring. But this time the 49ers didn't make it to the Super Bowl at all. They lost their chance in the playoffs, losing to the Seattle Seahawks. Colin continued playing well, but sports injuries led to surgeries on his thumb, knee, and shoulder, which slowed him down. By early 2016, Colin felt his best chance at winning a Super Bowl ring would be on another team. He asked to be traded. Chapter 3. Fed Up with Injustice. The summer of 2016 was devastating to the Black community. Police officers in Louisiana and Minnesota were responsible for the deaths of 2 unarmed Black men, Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. Plenty of Black people had been victim to senseless police brutality before, but this time the murders happened 1 day apart. None of the officers involved in these deaths were found guilty of committing any crimes. Like many Black Americans, Colin Kaepernick was fed up with the injustice of no one being held responsible for these murders. He wanted to see change. Unfortunately, Elton, Philando, and Court and countless other victims could not speak up for themselves. The families of these victims weren't being heard either. Many people in the Black community also wanted change, but they didn't have large audiences to hear their voices. But Colin had stadiums full of football fans. His protests against these injustices could be broadcasted to millions of people who watched professional football each week. Colin decided that he would use his platform to speak for all those who wanted to fight back. During Colin's final preseason game, he and one of his teammates, safety Eric Reed, took a knee together to show they were fed up about the murders of the Black people by the police officers and would not stand for the national anthem until they saw change. By now, football fans knew about Colin's protests. Many people felt what Colin was doing to unpatriotic, that he was not showing love for the country. After the anthem, football fans at the stadium chanted, "USA! USA!" Two fans showed off a sign with the message, "You're an American. Start acting like one." Despite the backlash toward Colin, he had support for some of his teammates. Other Black football players started kneeling too. Minutes after Colin and Eric took a knee, Seattle Seahawks cornerback Jeremy Lane sat on the bench at his own football game week against the Oakland Raiders. The following week, Denver Broncos linebacker Brandon Marshall took a knee at his first regular season game on September 8th. Two sponsors stopped working with Brandon because of this, but he didn't care. He, like Colin, cared more about justice for Black people than the sponsorship money he was losing. By this time, important people in and outside of the football community had the opportunity to weigh in. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, speaking about Colin, told the Associated Press, "I don't necessarily agree with what he is doing." But the President of the United States thought differently. President Barack Obama defended Colin, saying he cares about some real, legitimate issues that need to be talked about. On September 11, 2016, the U.S. national anthem would have more meaning than usual. September 11th is the anniversary of the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers in New York City and the Pentagon building just outside Washington, D.C. Four Miami Dolphin players stood for the 9/11 acknowledgement in memory of many Americans who lost their lives in 2001, but they still took a knee during the national anthem. On September 12th, Colin and Eric took a knee again. This time, another member of the team stood but raised their fists into the air, the Black Power salute. To show Colin they supported his protest. Even members of the opposing team raised their fists, and professional athletes weren't the only ones kneeling for justice. High school football players, college cheerleaders, and middle school and high school band members were also taking a knee. That fall, more and more Black NFL players across the country took a knee during the national anthem in support of Colin and justice for Black people. The National Basketball Association, NBA, Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, and professional soccer players joined them. Celebrities like NBA player Iman Shumpert pledged money for the cause. "I'm the Cap" became a popular phrase to say or tweet to show support for Colin Kaepernick's protest. Once again, I am not afraid, anti-American. Kaepernick said in a 2016 interview. "I love America. I love people. That's why I'm doing this. I want to help make America better." Colin backed up his words with action by founding the Know Your Rights camp to help education Black and brown kids who are more likely to face justice or brutalty from police officers. His partner, Vanessa Dabe, and a few friends pitched in. On September 29, 2016, dressed in a black t-shirt that featured the words, "I know my rights," across his chest, Colin held his first camp session in Oakland, California. He talked to hundreds of kids about how to interact with the police safely. He explained that learning about police violence, education, financial literacy, and nutrition were all ways kids could fight back against oppression or continuous cruel and unjust treatment in this country. Colin also helped children understand their rights as United States citizens. At the end of his session, each kid received their own t-shirt with a list of 10 points on the back to remind them they were worthy of help, safety, love, and freedom. By the end of September, 28-year-old Colin Kaepernick appeared on the cover of Time magazine, taking a knee in his 49ers football uniform. Popular sports channel ESPN reported that Colin had been voted the most disliked player in the NFL. Around 29% of football fans voted disliked a lot under Colin's name. 2 years before he began protesting, only 6% of football fans voted against him. Despite the criticism, Colin's team jersey became a top seller and sold out of the stores everywhere. On January 1st, 2017, Colin Kaepernick played his last NFL game of the 2016 to 2017 season. On March 3rd, 2017, Colin decided to opt out of the contract, making him a free agent, or someone who isn't on a team but can be recruited by any team that wants them. No team asked Colin to join them for the 2017 NFL season. This meant Colin was without a team and without a job. He couldn't play the game he loved and didn't have a field to knee on. But players from every NFL team supported him anyway. When the 2017 season began, more players than ever took a knee during the national anthem. "If they take football away my endorsements from me," he said, "I know that I stood up for what is right." Chapter 4, Time for Change. By the 2017 NFL season, a new president of the United States of America had been elected. This new president had a slogan that claimed he would work hard to make America great again. Unfortunately, President Donald Trump didn't think justice for Black people was a part of making America great. Instead of focusing on why Colin and the other NFL players were kneeling during the national anthem, he chose to attack them. At a rally in Alabama on September 22, 2017, Donald Trump gave a speech to the crowd that argued NFL team owners to fire any football players who refused to stand for the national anthem. Football owners weren't firing players for kneeling, but they weren't hiring the person who began to protest, Colin Kaepernick, either. On October 15, 2017, Colin filed an official complaint against NFL owners. In the legal paperwork, he accused the owners of working together to make sure he was blackballed or prevented from playing football professionally. Colin felt he was being punished for protesting racist acts in the United States. Colin Kaepernick may have been out of the job in the NFL, but he was being celebrated all over the country for their activism. A month after Colin filed his complaint to the NFL, Sport Illustrated magazine named Colin at the recipient of the Muhammad Ali Legacy Award. This honor is only given to past athletes who have been shown a great deal of sportsmanship, leadership, and philanthropy, promoting and donating to good causes to help change the world. GQ magazine released its December issue with Colin on the cover. They named him JQ's Citizen of the Year. On December 4th, 2017, the world learned that Colin was a finalist for Time Magazine Person of the Year. The following year, in May 2018, NFL owners approved a new rule banning players from kneeling during the national anthem. They told players if they wanted to protest, they could remain in the locker room, but any player on the field must stand for the anthem. This new rule sparked such outrage with the players and the public. The NFL never enforced it, and players continued to kneel. Then on September 3rd, 2019, the show and sport apparel company Nike revealed Colin Kaepernick as the face of their Just Do It 30th anniversary campaign. The ad showed a close-up photo of Colin's face with the phrase, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." Nike realized what a sacrifice Colin had made to stand for social justice. Many people enforced over the new ad, happy that such a big company recognized the important work Colin Kaepernick was doing for black people. But others were angry. There were still many people in the United States who felt that Colin started his disrespectful to American soldiers, the American flag, and the American people. Colin's critics were very unhappy with Nike for supporting the sports star. They took videos of themselves burning all of their Nike gear and uploading the footage to social media in protest. Even though there were negative reactions to the Nike campaign, organization continued to honor Colin for taking a stand for social society. Chapter 5. Know Your Rights. The NFL worked hard to get Colin Kaepernick's complaint against them dismissal, but by now it had been a whole year and no NFL team had hired Colin to play for them. On August 30th, 2018, an arbitrator or person appointed to settle a dispute had decided Colin did have enough evidence to support his claims that NFL was blackballing him. The arbitrator denied the NFL's request to dismiss Colin's complaint. Colin and the NFL battled it out away from the cameras and the media for several months. On February 15th, 2019, the two sides reached a secret agreement. Although Colin still hadn't been recruited by a team, the NFL agreed to pay him an unknown amount of money to make up for all the time he missed off the field. After Colin's complaint was settled with the NFL, he concentrated on his activism full-time. He convinced Nike to remove the original 13-starred American flags on one of its shoes. This flag symbolized a time when the enslavement of black people was legal. Colin didn't think this sent a good message to customers. Colin was happy to make a difference in his community, but his love of the game never stopped. In August 2019, Colin tweeted out a message to the NFL and included a video of himself working out. He let the NFL teams know he was ready to go back on the field, but none of the NFL owners reached out. Finally, on November 12, 2019, NFL announced they would set a private workout session for Colin at the Atlanta Falcons practice facility the following week. They invited coaches from 32 teams to observe Colin's skill during the workout, but the NFL had rules for Colin. Among other things, he was only given 2 hours to confirm or decline the invitation to attend. He would not be allowed to bring his own camera crew. Colin didn't fully trust the arrangement. Shortly before start time, Colin announced he was moving the workout to a high school 1 hour away from the Falcons' facility. Only NFL teams made the trip to watch Colin play, but that was fine with him. He was still able to show that he had the arm and speed to be a serious contender in the NFL. Today, Colin Kaepernick continues to fight for the justice of black and brown people. His Know Your Rights camp has expanded to several major cities all over the United States, including Miami, Baltimore, and Atlanta. The camp now includes a legal defense fund that helps black and brown protesters who are arrested or are the victims of police brutalty. In June 2020, soon after yet another black man, George Floyd, was videotaped being murdered by a police officer, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell admitted in an interview that he and the NFL were wrong for silencing their players for protesting a police brutalty. In August 2020, in another interview, Roger said, "I wish we had listened earlier. Cap, do what you are kneeling about and what you are trying to bring attention to." In 2016, Colin Kaepernick kneeled on the football field to bring attention to police brutalty against black people. Today, he stands up for justice. The end. Bye, and thanks for reading Who Is Colin Kaepernick. So I hope to see you in other Who Is and Where Is and Who Was. So until then, and until next time, bye.